Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Welcome to our Arts and Creativity Workshop with Seekers Guidance Canada. Seekers Guidance Canada is a learning institute which is located in Mississauga, Ontario, where we teach classes on Islam. Both at the advanced level during the day and in the evening, and on weekends we have classes at a general level. So there's classes for all levels. It's all recorded on site. If you've missed any part of our schedule, we are currently in the fall 2021 schedule. So you can have a look at our website, seekersguidance.org/Canada, to see the schedule. And if you're interested in any of the courses, you can catch up with that now. You can register and listen to the recordings. And then there are a few classes left of the fall term, which you can catch live, inshallah. So do check out that schedule. We do have special programming on Saturdays. So this one today is part of our Seekers extracurricular program where we cover mental wellness. This term, we did how to deal with stress and optimize your resilience with Dr. Rania Awad. We do physical wellness, and that one was motivation Belongs, who is a personal trainer. So that was quite excellent. And this is the third part of our extracurricular series. In creativity, we're doing a piece of Arabic Calligraphy. We're going to step by step with you in today's presentation. And we're very lucky to be having this presentation with a professional artist. So we have Sister Farzana Razzaque, who's going to be leading step by step. Hoca is a program director at the Deen Arts Foundation. She is a graduate of the School of Architecture in the University of Texas at Austin. Farzana Hoca has been studying calligraphy and tezhip for over 5 years. She's received her ijaza, which is the permission to teach the thuluth and nasakh scripts in the Ottoman tradition, from her teachers and master calligraphers Haji Nuruddin Hoca and Ahmed Kutlahan Hoca. Farzana Hoca is also studying tezhip, which is the art of illumination, with master tezhip artist Fatma Ulusoy Sirajuddin Hoca. So with that, I bring for you the workshop with Sister Farzana. So for this presentation, she go over the materials needed. You need acrylic paint, calligraphy board. She recommended 11 by 14 inches, but you can adjust to according to what, if you're doing this project at home, adjust it to whatever calligraphy piece board that you have. And if you're planning to do this in the future, you can get all of these supplies at a dollar store or the Michael's store if you're located in Canada or the US. You need acrylic paint, pencils, a ruler, and the acrylic paint. I think she wanted 7 colors plus black and white. So do have your materials ready before you start. And I believe she will go over that in the beginning of her presentation, inshallah. So get your materials ready and let's get started, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Farzana Razzaque, and welcome to this edition of a little bit of art and a little bit of calligraphy. We are going to be working on a little piece on canvas, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be something new, a little bit kind of contemporary in its style, and I hope you enjoy it. I will start off with looking at the materials you're going to need. So we are going to start off with the paints. So I have about 9 paints here. We do need the black and the white. This is kind of like a milky white, it's called. And we're going to need about 6 or 7 more colors of your choice. These are the colors that I want to use, and it's entirely your choice what colors you like. They are acrylic paints because we are going to be working on canvas. Okay, So these are the paints. I'm going to move these aside. I decided to use, we're going to use a little bit of gold if you like, but it's entirely up to you. So there's yellow, there's this kind of sea green color or emerald green, and some of this purpley magenta. And we have some nice blue, ultramarine. We have some violet or purple, and of course the black and white. The other things we're going to need are we're going to need an eraser and a couple of pencils. We're going to need a regular pencil and a softer pencil. So it can be anything that is softer than B. So B, 2B, 3B, 4B, any of those. And the reason we need that is because we're going to be using those to transfer our pattern onto our canvas. Okay. What we also need are the brushes. So I have a variety of brushes. I picked up some wide ones, some medium wide, and some a thinner one for detailing. I may need another smaller one for the detailing, but we will see later. So some brushes and a ruler to measure out and also to make lines on our canvas to plan out our canvas. And we're going to need some tape to tape down the tracing paper we'll use. I also have some palette knives. This is if you would like to add some texture or something to your painting. So you can do that as well. It's entirely your choice. This is going to be about what you want to do. Some tape, this is artist tape, which is nice because it doesn't stick to your paper or canvas and rip. This is really nice to use. We will also need the tracing paper. So I have some tracing paper, and we're going to have a couple of templates that we're going to use for this piece. Okay, so we have this. This is, as you can see, it's actually flipped, right? But that's because once you trace it, we will trace that it will become right side when we trace it onto our canvas. Okay, so this is in the Kufic style. It says Allah and it says Muhammad. And we have a couple of patterns over here that we're going to try and trace and use. If you would like to make your own patterns, that's entirely up to you. That's your creative freedom there. Okay. You will also need a cup for your water, and you're going to need of course, a palette that you can use. So I have some that are quite well used, as you can see. And this will be for mixing and just getting that paint nicely ready for your canvas. And the last thing is, of course, your canvas. So this is a canvas that is about 11 by 14 inches. You can use something smaller, but if you do something smaller, then the calligraphy will not fit on there. You could use an 8.5 by 11 if you like, but the canvas would be rather, you won't have much space other than the calligraphy, so but that's up to you. So those are your materials, and we're going to get started very soon. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to trace this calligraphy, okay, and use these lines as well to make a frame. And we're going to do that with our tracing paper. After we do this, we will also trace some parts of this pattern. Okay, let's get started. So we have some tracing paper. At this point, you will need to use the 4B, the soft pencil. Okay. And make sure it is as straight as you can possibly get it. You could just center it, of course. It's always important to do that. And let's get our pencil out and do that. So try to get it as straight as you possibly can. It's so important. If you would like to use a ruler, then by all means do so. I have a little tiny ruler here that will help me quite a bit. And so we're just going to trace these And make sure you use, so I'm using a 2B pencil. Softer is even better because you will get, it'll transfer better. What we're going to do is once we trace, we're going to flip this over and trace it onto our canvas. So it's very important that we have enough pencil or lead on our paper that it transfers. Okay, you may be a little confused about what I mean by that, but once we go through this step by step, you will understand exactly what I am talking about. Okay, and we're going to try and go as quickly as we can on this and make sure we have drawn in all our lines. So here we go. So the Kufik style is very interesting. It is quite an old style. It's probably one of the oldest styles of Arabic calligraphy out there. And it's very beautiful. This is a very modern style that I have used. And it's very easy to kind of copy, I guess. If you know a little bit about calligraphy, it is it is a sacred art, as they say. It is not just art itself, and there's a lot of spiritual aspects to it. In Kufik or in any other script, for example, the Thuluth script and the Naskh script. The Thuluth is what is you see in, for example, the titles of Quran and surahs, or for example, on the black cloth of the Holy Kaaba. That is the script, the Thuluth script. The Naskh is something that is used in Qurans and the writing of the Quran, and very beautiful. And there is much training that happens for a calligrapher to be able to write in that manner. So we should be aware of that when we look at calligraphy and understand where that came from. So we hope we can, by the end of this, have a little appreciation for that as well. Okay, so I have traced this. Now, I have originally added a very thin frame, and what I may do is I may make it a bigger frame because my canvas is a little bit bigger. But what I'll do is I'll just add this box first, and I'll draw these lines in, and if I decide to extend this frame or make it thicker, I have lines for reference already put in place. Okay, so we are putting in those lines, and I hope you can follow along with me while I'm doing this. And there we go. And this is done for now. Okay, so that's one thing traced. The next thing we're going to trace is the pattern here. Now, this may take a little bit of time, so you can trace whichever part you feel like tracing or you feel you want to be able to use. Okay, I think I want to use this part. So I'm just going to quickly trace these. You can also make your own pattern if you like. If you don't feel like, following any certain pattern, because this is a complicated pattern right here. It is entirely your choice. Okay. We could make instead of making a floral, you could stick with an abstract kind of pattern or an abstract way of dealing with the little rectangles around the Kufik calligraphy that we have chosen. But for me, I will use this pattern. I do love this pattern. I use it quite a bit. It's very kind of classic in its formation, and this is actually a pattern that is used in classic tezhip, which is illumination, something that is used in Quranic and texts and other kind of manuscripts around the calligraphy. So while this is also an art kind of session that we're doing, I would like you to sort of understand a little bit of the history, or a little bit of get a little bit of knowledge about Islamic fine arts. Okay, and so we're going to just work on these, and I think I may just use this part of it. Let's see, if I decide that I want to use more, then I will go ahead and trace more. But you know, sometimes with art, sometimes you have to kind of feel what's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't, what you plan may not be how it should be, or how it feels later once you've done a portion of the work. So this is a floral design. Yeah, I'm just going to use a little bit of this over here. We got to work a little quickly because I think we just have not that much time. So here we go. So that's one pattern down, and the next one, I'm not going to use this maybe, but if I do, I will keep space here for it. So let me just mark that here. All right. Yeah, so the next thing that we're going to do is keep that space there, the geometric pattern. So I think I may just use like the, just trace this part of it. But geometric patterns are also another very amazing part of Islamic art and part of our heritage. And obviously, a lot of these patterns were used because they're non-figural, right? In Islam, the early Muslims did not believe in using figures in their manuscripts and in Quran especially. And so that encouraged them to develop different ways to express beauty and make manuscripts look beautiful. And these kind of patterns evolved from that intention purely. Okay, I'm going very quickly, so some of these may not look as beautiful as they should, but when you actually do the actual work on canvas, it's going to look very nice. This project is not going to be a very precise project. Islamic art, however, is quite precise, and there is plenty of kind of rules that need to be followed to make sure that the work is as it should be. But this art project, we're not going to be very, very strict. Okay, this is supposed to be fun and a fun, relaxing kind of project to do. Again, if you do not want to use a geometric pattern, you do not have to. You can work on an abstract kind of thing where you just use the paint in any creative fashion that you want. Okay. And here we go. So I'm going to do just a portion of this and not the full thing. I may decide later while I'm working on this that I need to have the full pattern, but I would rather get to the actual painting first before I decide. Sometimes it's not the actual painting, sorry, actually layout of the pattern, rather. I hope I've made myself clear on that. And here we go. So calligraphy, we have to be careful in any kind of patterns to credit the artist for their work. Obviously, because the artist or the calligrapher for their work, because it is important to acknowledge somebody's hard work. And these patterns are actually downloaded from Google. They are free patterns. Just want to make sure you know that. But the layout is obviously what I have created on my own, and you have that creative freedom too as well. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. But usually, if you are using a specific calligrapher's or artist's work, please make sure to credit that person for their work. Okay, I've done most of it right here, and it looks very nice. You want to see. So I have this also done in 2B, so I'm able to transfer later. Okay. So here I have basically centered my tracing paper over the canvas. Now what I've done is, what I trace is actually on this side, okay? And I have flipped it over, and we're going to transfer this. And as you can see now, Allah is the right side up, and Muhammad is also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use actually tape it down, and we're going to use a harder pencil. So your number 2 pencil, or you can even use a ballpoint pen, but be very careful you don't tear the canvas. And I just taped it down as much as I can. And I'm going to test and see if the pencil mark transfers, and it does very slightly. It should actually just go on very nicely, and it should be light because you don't want the pencil marks to come through. So again, I'm going to make sure that it is actually transferring. It is, but it's going to be slight. It's not going to be very dark. So you're going to have to use very good eye power to actually see your lines. And as long as it's faint, it's fine, because you'll be able to, go over them again later with pencil. But the point now is to be able to transfer your pattern, or in this case, it is calligraphy. Always very good to have a good canvas that you use, good quality. The bad stuff, is harder to work on, and you won't get a very beautiful effect, obviously. Press hard, but not so hard that you pierce your canvas, okay? That's very important. I'm just going to see if, yes, I'm getting some of that pencil mark through, and that is good. So we're almost done. So very crucial to plan out your work, and once you have it planned out, things become much easier. Some people like to do things kind of in a very freestyle, and that works for some people, but it's really nice to be able to plan things out ever so slightly. Okay. That way any hiccups on the road you can actually control. Okay, so that's that. And hopefully now we get a ta-da moment where we see if we actually got everything transferred. And we did. So it's very slight, but that's okay. That's okay as long as you're able to see everything well enough. And it's quite light. So I'm going to go back and, go back and make sure that the lines are strong enough for me to paint on. Okay. So this is all kind of done now. Right there. So anywhere where it's too faint, I'm just kind of adding a line. And so it looks good now. The helmet is almost done. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Now I had said that I want my frame. There should be like a frame around this. And so I'm going to make that frame. I think I'm going to keep it like an inch of a frame all the way around. And so I'm marking it so that I can use my ruler to make those nice lines, nice equal lines. So we're going to put a frame here. When you decide about the pattern, where you want your patterns to be, as you can see, I've made sections, these little rectangles around. So I want to use like a variety of patterns in my piece. Okay. If you decide that you just want to use one, that's your choice. Okay. We're not, you can get as creative as you like with this. So here we go. Now, remember these lines. So we're going to actually extend lines up here, extend a line up here, and extend this line down. And we're going to make a line here. Well, maybe we'll make it here. Just moved it 6 inches. You can decide, but each of these patterns are going to go in here somewhere. Okay. All right. We may add another border on this side. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so pattern. I want to add this pattern in here. Okay. About here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to add this here. So it's kind of in the middle. Okay, so we're going to flip it because this is where this is. So just so you understand, this is where I actually traced on this side of the tracing paper, and I'm going to flip it now. Okay, and we're going to add it. We're going to trace it on to this part. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. Now, again, we have to be careful that we can actually trace well and make sure that it is actually transferring. And it's barely transferring. It's going to be quite light, but we're going to try and get it done. No. Oh, I've used 2B. I think 4B would be an ideal choice for transferring. Okay. Yeah. So we're just trying to get some of these in. Yeah, so most of this stuff is actually tracing and coming onto our tracing paper, and that is a good thing. Okay. And of course, again, if you are not able to see, then you may have to retrace the pattern from the original photocopy. Okay. And make sure to use like a 4B pencil. The 2B may be too light, and B may be too light. So anything harder than 3 will work much better for you. For me, this is my pattern, so I kind of know it already. It's not going to be a problem. I create my own patterns, so these will be fine for me. Okay, and here again. Again, you can do your own thing if you like. And I may decide to do a variety of different things on this, because I think this is going to be a fun canvas to create. And here we go. Now, if you know a little bit about Islamic art, there are, I suppose, 3 major components. And they are, of course, calligraphy, which is the kind of the queen or king of Islamic arts, all based on, of course, the religion. And, of course, there's tezhip, which are the floral and vegetal forms. And there's, of course, Islamic geometric patterns. Other Islamic arts would be like bookbinding, even, the ability to sing nasheed, have been developed into this beautiful art form, and sometimes they're called a science, actually. So we have that pattern there, right? And we will, let's see, so I've created a floral here. I may, and so we have a border here that I want to create, actually, again, so that it's a canvas, so you have kind of a frame around your work. And maybe I'm going to keep about 2, I can't see this, but maybe I'll keep like an inch around. I'm not sure. We're going to do something interesting with this. Okay. All right. So here, maybe I will use my geometric pattern in here. And it'll be cool to use it, actually. Actually, it's transferring. It is, but not very well, but that's okay. It's transferring. And I'll go back, of course, and redraw some of those lines. You could actually construct your own geometric pattern, but we haven't done that because of the lack of time. Oh. So we're going to be painting these in a very kind of abstract contemporary way. So don't worry about how the lines are too wavy or any of those things, unless you would like them to be very, very accurate, right? I'm not going to worry about those things. Okay, so we have these happening and almost there. Okay, so we don't have this part, but we have this. I'm going to just transfer some of that pattern over. And that's the great thing about tracing paper. You can actually do that. There you have it. So we have just a little bit of that geometric pattern there. And I may add a little geometric pattern here and a little bit of the floral here, right? And floral here. And the other things are going to be kind of abstract. Okay, so back to the geometric pattern. Maybe I'll use this part of it. Okay. It's going to be fun to do these things. Okay, so once the tracing done, we're going to be using some black paint, or we may actually use marker, the Sharpie. If you have a Sharpie, like a black Sharpie, that would be great, because we're going to outline some things in Sharpie, and that will make painting much easier. I'm going to do that. You can see that planning out takes a lot of time, because once everything is planned out and you know where everything's going to go, your actual piece will not take too long. And that is a good thing. As I have mentioned before, planning is very important. Here we have most of the pattern, and we are going to put some of that floral pattern down over here. And let's see, to figure out which, here we go. So maybe I'll just use a tiny part of this part. I like this part a lot. So that's the part I'm going to use. Okay. I'm going to flip it actually. So I'll use this like that. Okay. again, trace. Once you trace, you can decide which parts you actually want to use as well. It's already there. You can decide later if one part looks better without and all that. Do be careful. Like just now, I actually pierced the tracing paper, and tracing paper is very light, so you know, and they're very delicate. Excuse me. So hopefully you don't do the same thing. Worst comes to worst, it'll just pierce into the canvas, which isn't so bad as long as you don't pierce the canvas itself. There we go. I can see most of it. Now, it's always good to actually have your reference, because then you can go and fix things. Now, if it has not traced through, then make sure you go back and trace. Otherwise, you may be lost later in terms of what to paint and what not to paint. Okay, so that's very important. And so I've allowed my creative license to do some changes, and that's fine. And here we're going to just do something very abstract, okay? Maybe just some texture or something. And there you have it. You have your piece ready. And now we're going to get into painting. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is, as you see, we have this done already in the pencil. I'm just going to put in some of the detailing with a sharpie. So I have a sharpie here, and this is just to make it easier for me to find the lines when I'm painting. So I'm going to go do this really quickly, and it's going to be very as precise as I can possibly get it, inshallah. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over these things, inshallah. Get some detailing in. So we're going to work a little fast because you know, we don't have much time. You can always go at your pace that you like. And this is geometric patterns, as I've said before, is very important in Islamic art and used quite a bit in, you know, facades and also manuscripts and things. So I made a mistake here, but that's okay. I'm just going to get a gist of this. We don't plan on showing too much of the pattern, really. And since we're going to use acrylic, we can, whatever mistakes that are made can be taken care of. We're not going to do too much. And we're not going to also worry too much. Okay. This is going to fade, so I'm not putting too much of the details in. There we And then here a little bit. I just wanted to show just a little bit of this. Yeah, I like that. You can also just paint it. I like to have a reference that I can work from, but it's entirely your choice. Mm. Just right there. You can decide also not to have the floral part. You can just work on geometric, or you can do a kind of a abstract thing. It's really, really your choice. So I'm just going to finish this up. After that, we're going to start painting. And hopefully you have chosen the colors you want to use for this. I've already shown you the colors that I plan to use. So here we're going to use the same pattern here. So these are tezhip patterns I've said, and there is a sort of a traditional way of painting them, and I have not used that because I'm using canvas and not using any of the traditional methods in this. So if you'd like to know more, make sure you do some research. Get some beautiful work out there coming from like Turkey and parts of the Muslim world like Morocco and other places as well. Morocco and the Middle East as well, and Pakistan, and of course Iran also has some beautiful work, and it's done in a very traditional manner. Very beautiful. You can see these things do take some time, even though we've used a template. All this work takes a little bit of time to compile and work and plan out. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it, inshallah. And there you go. Okay, let's get started on this. We're going to start painting the middle part of it first, actually. Okay, so let's get out the paper plate. You're going to need something to put your acrylic paint on. So we're going to start with the white. So paint around over here, around the Allah and the Muhammad, and the inside we are going to make it black. Okay. I always add a little bit of water. It just makes it a little easier to paint and increases, I guess, the fluidity of the acrylic. You don't need to. There's a little bit of red in there, but that's okay. I don't mind having a little bit of varying color. It makes it interesting. So I have a wide brush, and that's going to be good because I can get more surface area covered. It's okay if it's not even. We're so used to trying to get things to look even and matte, like as in, computer generated work, that we don't realize that it's really nice to have some texture in work, in paintings. Okay. Acrylic is nice because it dries pretty quickly if you use a thin layer, which is pretty cool. Just make sure you're not painting over some of the Arabic letters. Otherwise, you'll get the wrong spelling of Allah and Muhammad. That's not good. So, yeah, Muhammad. Right, so, and we always start with like the lighter colors. We try because if you make a mistake, you can always like go over with a darker color. But with darker colors, if you make a mistake, it's a little harder to cover up anything. So my teacher always told me use the lighter colors first. And I still do that, and I do find it quite practical. So I'm going to go quicker because of time. You can always go very slowly if you like and get more precise with everything. But due to my time restrictions for this video, we'll go a little bit faster. I like having a little texture in there. It makes things more interesting. And there is the background for that. I'm going to use some, wash out my brush and use paper towel. Clean out my brush a little bit. Clean brush right there. And we're going to add a little bit of black. I don't like to add like paints for too long because acrylics especially, they tend to dry out quite a bit. So we're gonna go in with the black. There's the black. If you would rather use a different color, then by all means do so. But I will be using black. You can always go back and do some precision work if you like with a thinner, like a fine brush. I like to go one way usually before I go the other way. There's something about the hand. I'm getting used to a certain direction. You can always go back and fix things. It's a great thing about acrylics. There's another method you can use where you make the border first and then you fill it in. But I can do this with this broad brush, just like this. Saves a lot of time for me. Right there. That looks okay. It's not quite straight, but that's okay. This is going to be a very free kind of painting. Okay, I want to add a black border as well here. And I can also add this later, but I may fine tune it later as I see fit. I want the calligraphy to kind of stand out. Well, the lines, as you see, are not very precise. We'll go back and fix those. You can always go and fix things, like I've said before. I'm going kind of fast because of time. We're going to start on the flowers. Inshallah. It's going to be very kind of blurry, abstract. I'm going to work on it, but it's not going to be very visible or clear. Okay, because the focus is going to be on the calligraphy. All right, so I'm going to use the Sharpie a little bit. I may color some of these things in a little, or I may just go with like white a little bit and fill in some things a little bit, let it dry, and then go back with yeah, I don't really like that. So since we have this pattern in black, we can actually just go with purple or this kind of violet color here and paint and get some texture in there. So this is this color. It's very lovely. So again, I'm going to use my broad brush. This one. Make sure the black is washed out. We may need 2 jars actually of like cups of paint, water, one to clean the brush and then one to do another clean. Make sure all the previous color is taken out. So I'm going to just paint over it. As you can see, the black I put in there just so that we would be able to see the color that's to see it through the acrylic. Okay. And you can make it thin or as thick as you like. I'm going to make it kind of thin and maybe add some texture if I can. My texture, I mean it's just the strokes, the brush strokes that give it texture. Maybe add a little texture this way if you like, or you can leave it. It looks actually nice just like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Let's get out some of our gold maybe. I'm gonna use this gold over here. So I've left these paints there because I don't know, maybe I need to use it again later. Make sure your brush is clean. Just paint over it. So this is gold. Put one layer and then maybe just add some shading if I have time. So much you can do with this kind of acrylic painting. There's so much character you can add. It just depends on you as the artist, what you want to do. Right? So that's that. We may add gold in some of the other parts as well, depending on just how we're going to do this, inshallah. So let's work on this part. So here I think I'm going to add nice blue, like the ultramarine blue. I think it'll look nice to go against the black and the purple. Right there. Again, wash out your brush, make sure it's nice and clean. And sometimes it's good to just add a little color in there from the previous brush, just because it gives it character. So this is going to be just abstract, so I'm going to just give character to this panel right here. It doesn't have any kind of pattern in there. So you can do that by just layering paint. And that's what I'll do. You can also use like a palette knife and go in and just make some interesting kind of patterns in there if you like. So that looks pretty good. You can go back and give it some character if you like, texture, just like that, whatever you think you want to do. I like lines. I think it makes it look really cool. So I may just go in with a palette knife. And do that. And it's not something you're going to see from far. It's when you get close to the painting, you will be able to see some of this interesting stuff that's happening. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to clear up my brush again and my palette knife. Make sure it's clean. So the thing with acrylic is that it dries very quickly. So unless you're really careful and wash your brush out, the paint will actually stick onto your brush and stay. And that decreases the performance of your brush. Okay. So now that we're done with this part, we can go and work on this. Let's see. Yeah. Let me just move it here so I can work better over here. So here I think I'm going to add some yellow just to kind of go offset, or kind of balance the gold. So I'm just going to get some of this yellow. This is a deep yellow. This is a really beautiful kind of rich color. Again, make sure your brush is clean. I should have used actually the light colors first, but I kind of wanted to go this way with a natural progression there. So, so I've just painted it very matte, not matte, but just one color. You can actually go back and add parts. You know, you can shade parts as well once the paint is dry with, you know, another color, or for example, a darker shade of this color, and give it like some three-dimensionality if you like. As I said before, this is your painting, so however you wish to do it, you can do it. You can paint it and expresses you. So so that's that. Okay, now let's go on to this side. And that part, I think we're going to be painting a sort of a green, a sea green kind of color. Inshallah, that will look nice. Or maybe I'll make it purple and make this sea green. Let's see. Yeah, so I have this purple. I'm going to add that over there. This is the purple. It's very dark. Again, we can add texture to this. So if you want to add texture, you can layer it a little thicker or add multiple layers, whichever one you think works for you. If you add a thick layer, obviously it will take a long time to dry. So be careful and think about that, because what will happen is if you add more color here, then it's going to kind of, if you're not careful, you'll have two colors blending together, which sometimes is not a bad thing. So again, with the texture, I may use that same palette knife again. So I've layered it quite a bit with with some thick paint. All right. Let me go with the palette knife again. I'm going to turn it. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of, now if you don't have a palette knife, it's okay. You can use like an old credit card or a thick piece of any kind of like a cardboard, cardstock. All that stuff will work. So we got some texture there, if you can see, right? Now this one looks, I can see the canvas through, so I may need to actually go back and fix that. But I will actually finish up everything else first before I do that. So wash your brush. Now I used a dark color, so but here I'm going to add like a little off-white because I don't know, I feel like it balances all these bright colors over here. So that I'm going to mix this off-white with a little yellow. And it gives it like a It's yellow. It's off-white, but it's still kind of yellowy. See. Okay, so we're going to add that over here. Again, this is going to have a little texture to it. Nope, I got some purple in there, but that's okay. Acrylic is pretty forgiving. So again, we'll add a little bit more. So where I had the purple showing through because my bristles were not completely cleaned out from the purple. I added another layer of the acrylic and it's covered up the purple, but not too much. So it gives it a little bit of interesting visual effect there, right? So let's see how that looks. You can actually add little twirls and things like that in there if you like. It gives it a little effect that only those who are actually looking close will see, right? And that's kind of nice. You just discover these things when they get up close to your painting. Okay. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a little design there. Now we'll work on this one, and this is going to be like a I think we're going to be using blue over there. Blue. Oh, it's not blue, it's like a sea green, this color, or like an emeraldy kind of color. I'm not quite sure what we can call it, like a teal, like a dark teal maybe, but it's more greeny. And hopefully it'll balance out these other colors that we have. We have mostly purples and blues. So let's see how that looks. And again, this is going to be sort of clear enough so we can see the pattern through. So if you can't see the pattern through, you can just add a little water and it'll dilute the paint just a little bit, which is what happens. Some paints are different. The colors are different actually. Whereas, for example, the yellow and the other purple, you could see it through. You could paint and the pattern was able to be seen through. The green was not working as well, so I just diluted it with a little bit of water and just added that. And then now I can see through. Okay. That's that. Now we can add some character, like I said, if in here, if you would like. I kind of like it looking just how it is, actually. All right, just like that. We can add a little bit of interest to these, to the gold, for example. Add a little bit gold, more gold over here, if you like. So it's just more like a thicker. So wherever you want to put it. Just like that. So it's the gold. I haven't added anything to it. I just added the same gold. I just added it like a thicker layer. Okay, and it's like that. So what happens is it brings out the pattern a little bit. So this is, I think I put too much there, and so it's I'm just going back and using from there. When I'm adding a little texture, I like that. There you go. You can't always rework things. I mean, a painting can go on forever if you wanted to, of course. Can be a work in progress for a very long time, if should you choose to do that. So I just washed out my brush, and I'm going to use a thinner brush actually to do these parts. Okay, so I'm going to use that same color and go back, take thick amounts, and just go back and add. So it darkens the pattern just a little bit. So the pattern, the actual pattern stays right there, just adding a little interest to it. And so there you have it. So I just added, as you can see, immediately when you add those little things, it just brings out the pattern more. Right, like there. It's just very tiny, but has a good effect. You also need to work on this part right here, right? So we're going to add a little yellow, right? Just make it thicker, more texture in there, right? And that's right. This is so like that. Okay. You can do other things. Oh, that's not the one I wanted, but okay. Okay, and here. Here, just like that. There you go. No, if I wanted to, I could go back and add some shading and stuff, but I don't think I kind of like it just how it is. Right. You can do things like go back and enhance things by removing parts if you like. But I don't think I like that. So I'm gonna go fix it back up again. Right. Okay, and then we have this one. Again, we'll use this thin brush and go back and add some character. So here, so like that, just like that. So like that. This one doesn't show as prominently as the purple, but that's okay. If you want, you can mix two colors like the blue with a little bit of the teal so that you get like a darker color and add it if you like. But I kind of like it just as it is. Right there. Okay. No, I did say that this one is not quite, I can see the canvas through and I don't like that. So I'm going to go back and get some blue and go over it again. So what happens when you add texture, it stays, right? It kind of dries out and it remains like that. So that's kind of cool that you have that texture that's still there, that stripe texture that is there. And my brush had a little bit of yellow in it, so it's got some yellow character as well in there, which is kind of nice. I like that. Yeah. So I'm going to add more of the blue and see if I need to maybe use that palette knife again and give it character. Okay. You can, like I said, use anything, paper, anything that is a little stiff and make those textures. I didn't add it to the list because you can just pretty much use anything, but since I have palette knives, that's what I used to get character there, right? I can actually show you with something else that can be used. So here's a knife, ruler, and I can actually go back and get lines with the ruler. So I'm doing is I'm just kind of pushing back a little bit. And you're gonna get some nice, interesting kind of patterns happening there. Make sure you take care of your ruler, though. Okay. All right, so now that's done. We're going to paint the border. When I have a border, it's a canvas, and I do like borders even on canvases. If you choose not to have a border, that's fine too, but I do like to do that for my work, for my canvas work. Just noticed that I have an issue here with, so I'm gonna go and fix that. So these little things you can just go back and fix later. But if you want to give it a very kind of organic look, you can just leave it as is. I kind of, actually, I think I want a little bit of texture in there. So maybe I'm going to add that with my brush. Give it a roughness compared to the Alad Muhammad, which will balance with being very nice and smooth. Okay. But that's at the end. You look at your overall painting and then you decide, okay, what do I need to change? What do I want to make look more beautiful? And you do that. Okay. But it's yours, so you want to look how you want it to look. There you go. So again, black. To go back and put in some black. There. Now we're gonna add like a little. We're gonna add just a black border there. Maybe something very simple. I'm just adding a border. You should paint the sides too. But I can't get to the full side because that will basically, this is something you do just at the end, basically. Paint the sides so you get a nice presentation. You don't get this white kind of frame. And I'm doing half of it of the side, and once it dries, I'll do the rest. Because I have to turn this over to do it. And then here. We're getting the side stems. I think I might add a little gold. If you would like, you can add like a gold texture as well to your border if you like. It may actually look very nice and interesting. And how are we going to do that? Well, I'll show you. If you have an extra pencil or a pen, that can actually work. So we'll right there. A little extra black. That's okay. We can go back and correct those, and I will if, later on if I get a chance. So if your acrylic is getting too thick, you could probably drying out. So you can add a little water, and that will kind of excuse me, help spread the paint more. But when you add water, what happens is the canvas, it gets diluted obviously, so it's hard. You'll have to cover more with the paint. So canvas kind of shows through. All right. So you can actually use the palette knife or just your brush. Since most of you will probably just have brushes, we're gonna do it this way, okay? And it's just, we add like another layer of paint onto this part. And we will use the palette knife and just kind of make a pattern. So you decide what kind of pattern you want. Okay. So again, so it's just a thick layer of paint that I'm putting. Okay, I'll go back and here. So it's almost done. I actually want to add a little bit of white character because it's very kind of, it's become quite intense with the black. Yeah. Some paper towels. And then, of course, we have to fix some of these areas as well. And we have to make sure that these parts are dry, and they're not dry yet. Well, those have to get fixed with, once it's dry, we will fix that. So these parts need to dry a little bit, and then we can complete it. So here we are. We have the canvas or the painting almost done. And I feel like it's quite dark over here, so I want to balance the framing of it out with some of this kind of color. And then I think we're going to add some detail as well with gold. Okay, so let's get back to this plate here, and I'm going to add a little bit more of this white. Didn't really need that much, but it's okay. So we will use this and just add a little kind of frame here. You don't have to if you like kind of the darkness of it, the intense quality of what you have now. You don't have to do that. But I feel like it's a little too dark for me. I'm going to use another brush because that brush is not cooperating very well. And Just mixing up some of my paint. I may have to go over it a few times. Now, if you have more time, you want like a really straight border, you can always use like the masking tape or just tape, and then just paint along it. And then once you do that, you can go back and lift up the paint, and you'll get a very nice straight edge. But with this painting, I've been quite flexible, and I wanted to be very loose about how I did things, just because of the nature of the painting. It's kind of contemporary and free, and that's what I wanted. You may not see the full painting here because I'm just because of how the camera is oriented. Okay, so let's keep going. We'll take a look at what the border looks like once it's fully done, and assess. Okay. So we're just going to add this border here. Obviously, you can see the black through it. And I'm not sure if I like it yet. But you can decide. You can like do another layer of the white if you like. So just taking a look this way and seeing. Yeah, it's kind of fun, but I think I do want to add a little bit more of the white to the border. If you want to give it like more character, then you can always do like a thicker layer of paint and add, some texture like I showed before, right? The paint is still wet, so I may just leave it until it's dried so I can add another layer. So
Since the white is still kind of wet, I'm going to wash out my brush, and I'm going to add some more detail to this composition. And I'll just do that with, I want to add some gold, actually, and I may use a brush. I'm not sure. I think I'll add some gold, like accents in some places, just little bits and pieces. This is a little hard, so I'm just gonna take that more and work with the diluted gold. So just added some water. Just mix it a little bit so it's kind of diluted a little bit. Trying to figure out where I want to add. Just add a little bit. All right, so then I'm going to take some tissue and just wipe it so it's just not too obvious, right? And this already has some, so we don't have to worry. In here. The gold really looks beautiful with ultramarine blue. They just kind of naturally go together. And in fact, the if you see in traditional manuscripts and Qurans, you'll see the deep ultramarine blue that was naturally ground from like lapis lazuli was actually combined with the blue with the gold, just naturally went together. So I like seeing those two together. So it's very beautiful. If you read the Martin Ling's book on calligraphy, he talks about the symbolism of how the blue represents the sky or the ocean, which is infinite, and the gold represents the sun, all mercies from Allah. Just very beautiful symbolism there. What's that? Let me see if I want to add a little gold here. Just a little bit. Just little accents. It's not going to be overly powerful or anything. Just a little bit. You don't have to. You can just keep yours as is. But I have a thing for gold, so I'm going to use gold. I'm using a very wide brush, but you can decide if you want to or not. Okay, and here maybe a little bit. Just using it on the leaves. Just little like flecks. Yeah. The other place I do want to use the gold is in here, is because we have we curved it, or we carved it rather. So we have like some kind of pattern within the color. It is nice to show it through by adding another color inside. What's that? And I think that looks pretty cool. Just looking at it, you can go back and fix and make everything straight if you really want to. Here we also have some texture. We can add gold in the yellow. And let's go back to this. You can actually add a little bit more like gold here if you really want to. But that's your call. Right. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit more of the white to the border, so I think it'll look better. So I think we're almost done. And you can make this border as you like as well. So while I've done it black and kind of a white thing to contrast with the inside frame and to kind of balance out the inside of the black and white calligraphy, you can decide how you want to proceed or complete your pattern. It's supposed to be your composition, right? So you can get as artistic or creative with this as you like. And I think we're done. And yeah, I think we're done. So I hope you enjoyed this project. If you would like to, if you are interested in calligraphy or tezhip, which is the art of illumination, please contact me and I will reach out to you as soon as I hear from you. Okay, and if you did enjoy this painting, please send me a message and with a picture of your work. I'd love to see it. All right, bye. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.